What is going on, YouTube people? Today, we are going to talk a little football. The 4th of July is around the corner, and to me, that usually signals that the NFL season is fast approaching. Though the entire card market has dipped the last 3 months, football has gone along with it, but at a slower pace compared to basketball. But it has definitely seen some pullbacks since the March highs. Essentially, as of right now, the football market peaked in March with everything else. The question is, will it bounce back over the next 2 months leading up to the NFL season? Everyone's preached, including myself, to wait until late July, mid-August to sell most of your football stuff. Whether that holds true or not, time will tell. But today, I just kind of wanted to dig in some data, look at the last 90 days worth of stuff, which takes us back to the end of March when the market was kind of at the peak of its power, starting to slow down. I'm curious what's dropped the most, and has anything started to show signs of? So before we dive in, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, leave any comments or questions down below. And with all that being said, let's get into it. So we're going to start with 2020 and kind of work our way backwards here a little bit. We are not going to look at every single player. I'm sure I'm skipping over someone that you guys would like a chart or graph to. And if you do, Market Mover's link down below, discount code. But I picked out a lot of the key quarterbacks. Not necessarily all of them, mostly the more modern ones, 2017 and newer. Just to kind of see how the market is treating them. So first up to bat, we have some people from the 2020 class. Hurts, Burrow, Herbert. You can see their respective charts on the screen there. What I mostly care about is this bottom section down here. We can see all three are down. Herbert down the most, 42%, 36% for Burrow, 17% for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts' pop count looks extremely low. I don't know that I would be fooled by that. It's just that people didn't pay the massive increases through PSA to get his stuff graded as fast as Herbert and Burrow. So don't think that Hurts is suddenly a low pop count card. Herbert is already at 1,400. Burrow's already over 1,000. Hurts is sitting at 240 with probably 800 sitting at PSA, if not more. And I expect Herbert and Burrow's numbers to continue to climb as well as summer moves on, and those regular orders from March and April begin to slowly trickle back into people's hands. I've said it a bunch. I think Herbert and Burrow are overpriced, and they are doomed to go down once the season starts. We will see what happens between now and the start of the season. I will levy my official judgment once I see what prices look like in a couple months, but I am not a big fan of either of them at current prices. I actually probably like Jalen Hurts the best of the three, just because his stuff hasn't popped off as much. It doesn't have the high inflated starting point like the other two do. But Herbert at just under 600, Burrow at 400 seems a little too rich for my blood. But they have come down quite a bit. Now, the interesting thing, scrolling back up, and this has been, like I said at the beginning, a slow, gradual decline. There's no cliff here like we've seen with some basketball stuff. If I pull up Donovan Mitchell's chart right now, it looks like, the side of a cliff face. These charts don't look like that. They're just slow incremental declines, 3 to 5% a week for the last 90 days. And then we get to where we are now. What's interesting is if you look at the very tail ends of those graphs in late June, it looks like they've flattened out and have actually maybe started creeping back up again. You could see those downward lines slowly making little turns. Herbert's on top obviously takes a little more drastic upward swing. I actually like what I'm seeing out of Burrow's, and Hurts is more. It's a more natural, the slow curve back up. I don't like to see the big spikes. I want to see slow, steady throughout the month of July. So we will see if this continues. This is like a 1 week sample size. In fact, if I look at this over the last 7 days, we see a little bit of green, not much. Hurts flat, Burrow up 5%, Herbert up 1%. Let me see if we look at 14 days really quick. About the same, flat, give or take. Hurts down 8%, Burrow up 4%, Herbert down 2%. So this 2-week period, it looks like the end of June, we may have hit the bottom. And then we see these little teeny tiny upswings here at the end of the month. Will these continue? That's what we don't know. Will the demand for football be there like we think it will be? Or do they just stay kind of flat? Do they see little increases? How much smarter is the market now? Let's look at some other data. Kyler, same exact thing. Down 31% the last 90 days from 600 to 400. I could tell you right now, for $400, I'd rather have Kyler over Burrow and Herbert, just in my opinion. But once again, we see, and this could just be nothing. I could look at this again in another week or two, and it could be right back down again. But we see the same consistent, slowly trending down. And then the last few days, kind of a little upswing here over the last couple. If we look at the last 7 here, still down a little bit, only down 2%. Let's see if we look at the last 14 here. Down 0%. So basically flat with one weird, I'm going to guess, for $650, this is a rogue sale. Probably something not registered correctly here or bad data. But essentially flat over the last 2 weeks, much like the 2020 class. So it appears, at least with those players, the market has kind of hit the bottom and maybe completely flattened out. Let's look at 18. My boy Baker, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen actually saw his peak a little later and has dipped since. Same with Lamar. We didn't have a sale here for a good period. His stuff's pretty low pop in the grand scheme of things. He's the outlier. We've talked about this before. 571 on his PSA 10 compared to Allen at 1,000 and Baker at 870. I forget the exact issue, but there was a problem on Lamar's cards, and they are ridiculously tough to get a PSA 10 on. So his stuff will always be extremely low pop, even on base. I know we're not talking about silvers here. Silvers just don't work for football. If I pulled up the silver charts, there might be 1 or 2 sales across the board on these 3 guys. 18 silver was super, super rare. 18 silver PSA 10s go for astronomical sums of money. Even 9s go for a ton. They are ridiculously short print. So we kind of see the same. So we look at Baker's prices. They basically were flat. We'll come down here and look. Over the last 90, Baker is actually up 4%. The only one to slightly go up. Josh Allen slightly down at 8%. Lamar slightly down at 7%. So the 2018 class has held up much better than the more recent guys. Once again, if we look at Kyler, he was down 30%. And if we look at the 2020 guys, 40%, 35%, and 17%. But when we fast or rewind to 2018, a lot less movement on these. And we start to see maybe the same thing. It's hard to tell. Are these just one-off spikes where they spiked up? Or is this more indicative of the market actually shifting? Baker, to me, looks more indicative of the market actually shifting. We have a 400, a 440, and then a 470. I like to see this slow tick up. It looks like we kind of have the same thing here with Lamar, 725, then 770, then 782. Josh Allen, we just have less data, 792 and 879. So we will see if this trend continues. Once again, if we look at the last 7 days, only one Baker has sold, so it stayed at 0%. Josh Allen up 10%, Lamar up 12%. And if we look at the last 14, Baker up 13%, Josh Allen up 2%, Lamar down 5%. So not quite flat, but pretty close to flat, with Baker slightly ticking up. Baker at 470, I would also take over Burrow or Herbert's prices. Lamar's always going to be slightly artificially higher because of the low pop count, and Allen's a potential MVP favorite. So not surprised there by that. And also lower pop count, 1,000. Once again, I know that there's a lot of hate on base, but base football is not high population count. Keep in mind, football is a smaller market, though it is big, but it is nowhere near the size of the NBA. The NBA is a global game. The NFL market is not. So there is a little bit of a difference there, but these are pretty low in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion, at least from 2018. Last but not least, let's take a look at one Patrick Mahomes. I have pulled up both his primary rookie cards, 2017 Optic, both the hollow and the base, and we will look at his Prism Silver as well. Same thing over the last 90, held up okay. Down 12%, down 12%. Hollow down 12%, base down 12%. Kind of see the same thing here, especially with the Optic Hollow. This bottomed out at 3,500, and they were for a while. This sat at 3,500 from late May all the way through late middle June, June 19th, 3,500. And then what? Spike. 4K, just over 4K. The base has not quite done that yet. So let's look at this one for the last 14. 15% increase on the hollow from 3,500 to 4. And the base actually down just a little tiny bit, down 6%. I like seeing this. I know Brad, the comeback card investor, mentioned this on Instagram as well about Patrick Mahomes stuff slowly starting to tick up again. I like seeing his stuff leading the pack because I feel like if there's going to be a move, his stuff will go first. Whether it's indicative of the entire market, that's what we don't know. But Mahomes Optic Hollow is at least trending up slightly. Let's look at Prism. Once again, this is super expensive. PSA 10 Prism Silvers. There are only silvers in Prism this year. For rookies, there are no base cards. PSA 10 and PSA 9 for the purposes of this. Scroll down here. Over the last 90, PSA 10 down 17%, PSA 9 down 20%. But we see a very similar pattern here with his 2017 Prism Silver. It bottomed out in mid-June at around 8,500, then went up to 8,900, and then the most recent sale at 9,250. So let's look at the last, put 30 instead of 14. That's only going to have the two sales. But if we look at the last 14, it's up 3% and up 4%, his two cards. Let me find the, because this card just does not sell that often. Just trying to find what date was that, 6/11. So let's go from that last sale. Up 7%, up 4%, 8,500 to 9,200, 1,800 to 1,900, basically 1,825 to basically 1,900. So 7 and 4%. But 7% doesn't sound like a lot, but on a 9K card, that's a $675 price change. So Mahomes, let's look. I'm just curious. I want to look at his optic from the exact same date. Base up 0%, optics hollow up 15%. So interesting take here. This card might be lagging behind a little bit. Optic base might not be a bad deal. Looks like it's a little undervalued. Up 7%, up 4%, up 15%, flat. So that's a little interesting. That seems like it might have a little bit of room on it. Much higher pop here on the base, 3,000 compared to this. So that could explain a lot of it. But the fact that Mahomes' other stuff is moving and this hasn't moved yet intrigues me a little bit. I've talked about this card a lot. I do not own any. I don't own any Mahomes. I should rectify that situation, I guess. But to me, this, even though I know I get it, it's base, this is the entry-level Mahomes for most people. And it's an $1,800 card. It's still pop 3,000. That's a little high. But if you want a Mahomes rookie, you do not have a lot of options. His Select is extremely expensive. His Prism is extremely expensive. If you want a Chrome-style card, this is one of your only options at a semi-reasonable price at 1775, around 1800. So I could see this one eventually moving as well. It's probably just lagging behind a little bit as people are going for the more expensive stuff first. So what do you guys and girls think? Has the football market bottomed out this last back half of June? Is this the flat point? Because it looks like it might be. I know we didn't look at any position players. I am not big on position players in football. To me, it's a quarterback only thing. So the question is, where does it go from here as we move into July? Last year, the football market peaked in August, but the card market peaked in August. So the speculation is will that follow suit? Or was that fake because the entire card market peaked and football just got drug along with it? Time will tell, I guess. I think most of this stuff is going to go up somewhat the next 60 days. The key question is how much and what goes up. But the news focus is going to switch to football. ESPN's going to start cranking out more football stuff. The NBA is wrapping up. We're in the conference finals in both those series. The NBA draft's going to be coming up very quickly. And then NBA free agency is going to happen and shake the snow globe a little bit. And then the NBA is going to step aside for a while. And football is going to have its moment in the sun. The question is does the market bounce back for football? It's basically at its lowest point since March right now. And maybe his flatline. So we'll see what happens. From now, the next 2 weeks, I think, are going to be interesting. My prediction is, we'll see what happens, is that we see some stuff slowly start to tick back up again. Like, we're seeing these little 4% increases, 3%, 5%. I'll be curious to see, does it continue to go that way, especially on marquee players like Mahomes? Do we continue to see these little 5% bumps each week? 2%, 3%, 4%. And then does it hit like a runway in late June? I don't know. If the market continues to stay, July. If the market continues to stay flat throughout July, like we get to mid-July and things are still flat, that'll be a little concerning to me. But I think everyone wants to start seeing the green in the football market, especially leading into the national. The national for the football is going to be very intriguing because it should be at the peak of its powers. End of July, 1st of August, training camps are about to open up. Hopes and dreams are everywhere. No one's hurt yet. It's wonderful. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. From between now and the national, what happens? Does Mahomes, Baker, Lamar, Josh Allen, Kyler, Herbert, do they stay flat? Or do we start seeing it slowly start to tick up again? Or do we see a massive run up? All the YouTubers are going to start talking about football, and then do prices start to spike along with it? Or is it actually going to take for the season this year? Last year, they peaked before the season. Most guys. So let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. Smash the like button while you're down there, and we will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.